Another day and we're in the car, kind of. We're going to be here for literally 20 seconds, a minute. So I just want to show everybody what happens when I put my foot down in the car. It's had a bit of chance to warm up, so I'm not sure it's going to do it now. I made a mistake, I put it on the ramp and then I realised, I should probably show you what it does as I'm doing it. So if I put my foot down, yeah, I've done it now. The car just dies. And it's had a bit of time to warm up as well. It's not great. It's very annoying, really. And when I want to go out somewhere and it does this all the time, it's very annoying. So let's try and get started again. Let's back to park. Come on. So yes, I just wanted to do that before I went on the ramp, really, because I'm not going to be able to show you otherwise. I have the car on the ramp. Now, it doesn't need to be on the ramp to do this, to be honest. I've just done bits of the gearbox last episode. But today's the day we get rid of this old carburetor. Now, I don't know the history of it. I don't know how old it is. To be honest, I'm not really entirely sure of what model it is. But every time I turn the car off, it leaks. It leaks out of the side, it leaks into the second venturis when it's turned off. It's just not that great. I've rebuilt it once, I changed all the seals, and it's still doing it. So I think the time is for it to go, and with everything that happens, things get better, things get upgraded. So the one I've got is probably guaranteed to be better in every single way. In performance, delivery. The biggest thing about this is when you put your foot down, like you saw in the first clip, it cuts out. Which I can't be having that, really. I know I'm not going to put my foot down all the time, but when I do, I don't want the thing to die on me. So yes, today is the day that we get a upgrade. So here we have a Edelbrock Performer, I think it's a CFM 600 with electric choke. Not this manual choke that's, well, it doesn't exist on this one, it doesn't even have a choke, it's gone. In the mornings this will be a lot easier to start the car. I'll show you how all that works when I get out of the box. But the main reason I got this was because Edelbrock do a kit for the engine for these. I think it's called the Performer. No, it's called the Performer kit. But what that does, it takes it to 321 horsepower. I think it's about that. In that you get, well, I've got the intake manifold already. That's already on the car. That's how it came. But with that you get a pair of heads, a new cam, and the timing gear and all the other stuff to make the engine work. It's a direct bolt-on kit for the car. You don't have to do any modifications. Everything's paired together, so it's all going to work from the box. And this is the carburetor to go with that. Now, it probably won't give the best performance on this setup, but it will when I rebuild the engine and put all the other things on it. Admittedly, that's going to be towards the end of this year, probably, maybe the start of next year. It depends how much money I save up this year to do that, because it's not cheap. Nothing for this car is cheap. Nothing for this car is cheap at all. But in the end, it'll be worth it. Also, before I do the engine, I do need to upgrade the brakes on this, because it's all good. It's all good going fast, but then you've got to be able to stop it, and these brakes at the moment are not man enough to do that. They are abysmal. Probably even worse than this carburetor. But the difference is I can afford to do this carburetor and not the brakes. But at the moment I'm not looking for performance, I am just looking for more reliability. No fires, no cutting out, no fuel leaks. Amazing. outside, you can easily tell the differences between the two carburetors. The most noticeable one is the architecture of the carburetor. The Holley system, the bowls are bolted together, and this tube that connects them together for the fuel, filling the fuel up, is kind of like sandwiched in between. This is more of a cast block with all the channels then machined into it and drilled out. Quite a lot prettier, I think, as well. I'm not sure because it's more shiny, more new, but it's more better on the eye, I think. The second thing, these things are completely different, to be fair. They work completely different ways. The Holley has a vacuum actuated secondaries. So these Venturas over here, they go on this, and when the vacuum lets it, then when it draws vacuum, it opens them. This one is a mechanically operated secondary. I'm not sure which one it opens. I don't know if the main primary one has to be open. So that's open there. I assume it's this one here. No, this one. It's actually quite clever. I've been playing around with this, and I keep finding new things every time. Let's start with the choke. Well, the choke on this was not even there, but it was a manually operated choke. You operate it from the cockpit as a cable to use that. It wasn't there in this. It was never there, so obviously I know you already used that. This is a electric choke. It's quite clever. You can time it depending on how hot of a country you're in. I'm not too sure which way does what, but basically 2 wires go onto these terminals. One gets earth to the body of the carburetor, and it goes through the engine and to earth to the battery that way. But in here there's a coil, and as you feed it current, that coil then contracts, and then in turn will slowly open this up. So you see the arm there. This will open, and then it does it all by itself, and that always gets current while the car is powered on. I just realised the secondaries are linked to the choke, so as the choke opens, it doesn't allow. Basically, it doesn't allow the secondaries to open unless the choke is all the way open, which is quite clever. It's got its own little stop, and really, I think that's just to stop you from booting it from the get-go until the engine is got a bit of temperature in it, which is quite good actually. But I'm not the person to do that anyway. I try to look after the cars as much as I can. So on the front here we have 3 vacuum ports. I think this one's the breather pipe from the heads. So I need to take that pipe off and make a new one and keep this little valve. One of these does the gearbox, and then one of these does the vacuum advance. I can't remember which one does which. I did watch a video about it all, how to set it up properly, but I can't remember. So before it got put on the engine, I needed to set up, I'll just put a wire onto the negative for the carb to ground it out. I don't know why the wire is so long, and I don't really know why it doesn't come on the carb already, but I've done that. The wire is so long, I don't know what to do with it. And maybe I have to tidy it up later when the positive's in, but for now it's staying like that. Also, there's a open channel at the back. I think that is for power brakes, but which my car doesn't have, so simply just put a cap in that and then that's that. So now we're ready to go on the car. Are you ready for another top tip for Milky's DIY SOS? No. Cheaper DIY SOS. So, if you are like me and you have a valve that you need to put in a silicone hose and it's clearly bigger than the hose, you can get it in. So, what you got to do is warm up first. Alright, you should really be using a mug for this rather than a plastic container, because that hot water is just going to melt the plastic container. And dip your hose in. So you want to warm up the hose a little bit and it'll make it softer and expand it slightly, and then make it easier to get onto there. Now the hose that I took off was this diameter, so I know it does go on there. Alright, once that's warm, you want to try and get it on there. It's going to be difficult. Just like that, we have a new valve. So now that needs to go on the big port on the front. So before it was on the side, roughly where the fuel in pipe is. We need to run that underneath here onto the big one. Now we also need to do some moving around with the vacuum advance and the gearbox line as well. I think the gearbox line will be alright, just route it around a different way, it might just reach. And the vacuum advance goes onto this one here. The small one here, that will easily reach, and needs cutting down a little bit. I am done on the top, on the engine side. So we've got the breather line into the front, we've got the fuel line now running underneath and loops around here to the feed, and the 2 vacuum ports connected up. I didn't have to do much modifying with it all. It's all pretty simple. Just took a while really to get it to a point where I'm happy how it looks, and it's all going to it's not going to rub through anything. And so now I need to look at putting the positive cable on. So it's a simple spade plug on this side, and it runs into the cockpit. Probably going to follow this loom. No, I'm not. Not sure how I'm going to get it into the cockpit, but the end of this wire needs to go on the back of the key, I believe. Right, I am back at the unit after 3 weeks of... No, it's longer than that. When did I last come down here?
It's at least 4 weeks ago.
Well, yeah. Yes, I was in my job for 2 weeks and then I quit, and then I went back to my old place. I've been there for nearly 3 weeks now. Too long. Before I was doing the carburetor, I did all the install up here, and now we have a power source for the electric choke. I'm going to make us a nail soon. Okay. Not my bottom, just the car. So on the back here, there's a stud, and it's called the stator, and now that only gets power when the engine is running, when the alternator is turning. People say to wire it into... a lot of people say to wire it into the main switch of the power of the car, but then it'll be on all the time, and then when the car's on, it'll be slowly getting warm, and you don't really want it to open when the engine's cold. So this will only operate now when the engine's running, which I want. So I'm going to crank it now. I've disconnected the coils so it won't start, but I need to get fuel into the bowls of the carburetor and then attempt to fire it up.
There's fuel.
There goes nothing. Okay, that didn't take long at all to fire up. It was really easy, literally it's plug and play. So you see that the choke is a bit open. That's because not only does it get the power from the alternator, but also the heat soak will slowly make this open up. So yes, I need to get the gearbox warm, let the car warm up, just check if this opens all the way fully, and get the gearbox warm, and go through all the selectors on the transmission to fill the flywheel back up, and then set the level on the gearbox. I do need to get some fuel at some point. Luckily it's only around the corner, so I will go and do that at some point, just take it around the block. But so far it is quite promising, so let's start it up again and get her warm. So that's slowly opening, which tells me I've done something right on this car. And I'm actually very surprised how easy it is to do. The car is literally on the key now. It starts first time, which is amazing, it's brilliant. So now all I've got to do is get the oil level set right for the gearbox. Check the engine oil anyway while I'm doing this, and then we can go for a little drive. First time this year. one thing after another with this car, trying to pull the gearbox dipstick out and the whole tube came out. It looks like it's just held in by an O-ring, but that is super tight, so it's not really coming out, and just pull the whole thing out. I am now at a point where I'm happy to drive this car. I just had to bleed the front brakes up. The rears were okay. After I did the fronts, the brake pedal went quite hard again, so I'm satisfied the rear is okay, and I'm going to redo the brakes anyway at some point. I have a proper go through. I've got new springs and retaining equipment, hardware for it on the rear, but not got fronts yet, so I want to do a disc conversion, as you know, and it's just not the time to do that yet. I want to, because it's just better in every single way. So yeah, that is it for today. The car works. I'm over the moon. I am currently late. I wanted to be home at this point to catch the start of Sebring, the 12-hour race. It's half an hour in. I've got another 11 and a half hours to go, but I really want to be home at this point to catch the starts. So yes, consider yourself lucky that I'm finishing this video for this week, because yeah, I need a beer. So yeah, that's it for today. Oh, sun's really blinding. That's it for today. Like and subscribe if you're new. Like the video anyway. Drop a comment. I really enjoy reading your comments, whatever they say, really. It's nice to know that there's some support from me out there. And yeah, next time you see this car, unplug your earphones, because it's going to be loud.